Poštovani gledalci, 7 je sati i 35 minuta. Naša prva tema biće posvećena upravo aktualnim dešavanjima političkim u Crnoj Gori i naravno gdje je naša zemlja kada je u pitanju put ka članstvu u Evropskoj uniji. Ovoga jutra ćemo imati negdje malo izazovniji razgovor jer će razgovor biti na engleskom jeziku. Naš gost je austrijski ambasador u Crnoj Gori, njegova ekscelencija Karl Miler, ali naravno imat ćemo ja podršku od mojih kolega iz režije. Tako da u svakom slučaju one glavne note i negdje glavne poruke će biti generalno svima jasne. Your Excellency, good morning and thank you for that you are here with us this morning. At the first moment of our conversation, I would like to ask you, how do you comment current political situation in Montenegro?
Well, Montenegro is in a time of formation of a government. It is within the time frame that is foreseen for this procedure. And I think this is a fairly normal procedure. In many countries it has happened more often than would be foreseen in Austria in the last 10 years, quite a few times. And so far, I must say I cannot see anything irregular. There has been good parliamentary elections. There has been a president elected, a new president. And I think I am confident and optimistic that a government will be formed, even though we have seen a few changes in the last few days. But that is, I think, within the normality of a negotiation process, that things also change within that time frame. And I think as long as the next government is a government which is very target-oriented, gets its priorities right, and is really a government of action, not words, I think the country will be well served, and I'm optimistic, as I say.
Ambasador je upravo kazao da negdje sve ovo je normalan proces. Slično je bilo i u Austriji prije 10-ak godina. Dobro je da se formira vlada koja će biti od akcije, a ne od riječi. On je siguran da će se vlada formirati, iako imamo neka mala previranja u proteklih nekoliko dana. Ono što će nas interesovati u narednom segmentu jeste da prokomentarišemo to što će biti pretpostavka je da će dio nove vlade biti i opcija, odnosno bivši demokratski front, to je koalicija za budućnost Crne Gore. Excellency, some of the states, they said clearly that they won't see pro-Serbian political parties in a new government. Now, these days, we can hear that probably they will be a part of a new government. How do you comment that?
Well, one has to say this. There might also be a difference. Not knowing all the details, naturally, there have been some statements and some things which were put out in the open. Others probably not. But it might also be a difference whether the concrete party which we're speaking about is in government or is supporting a government from outside. But I would at the moment, without knowing the details, I would refrain really from any too overt criticism. I think a government can be supported by a small majority or by a very large majority. The important thing is that majorities are there when needed for very important constitutional matters which need a bigger majority. But whether that is cemented in the form of a government or whether it is a support from outside or a spontaneous support for individual issues is another matter. But at this juncture, naturally, I'm aware that some see an interference of foreign agents through parties. But I think I would wait for a thorough commentary for the thing to pan out and to see whether it's really happening. which one cannot be totally sure of. There's still 3 weeks to go. A lot can happen in these 3 weeks.
Ambasador je upravo rekao da mi imamo još nekih 3 nedelje, pa ćemo sačekati te 3 nedelje da vidimo šta će se zapravo dogoditi. Nije baš da bi želio komentarisati sve ovo jer ništa nije konkretno. Jedino što smo mogli čuti kroz medije, nada se da kroz sve ovo neće biti, iako je prisutan i evidentan uticaj trećih strana i drugih država, ali u svakom slučaju vlada se može formirati od podrške manjine. Dobro bi bilo da vlada ima većinu, ali u svakom slučaju da sačekamo još ove 3 nedelje. To je negdje njegova poruka i poenta, pa da vidimo šta će se sve to dogoditi. Where is Montenegro in the past 3 years?
Well, in the past 3 years there has been the chaos, partly a chaos, if you want, which is also always the case if there are big political changes. I think that is also within a normality to a certain degree. But I think that naturally the expectations of the citizens would be that things normalize in the course of time, so that they are basically normal governments which are supported by a reasonable majority, which is also constant over time and not decaying. Governments which implement a lot, which not only talk the talk, but walk the walk in all respects, and which are possibly more effective in also, and that is a very important thing, which will be scrutinized exactly by the EU member states, approachment to the EU, which really takes very seriously the reforms which are needed to adopt the acquis and to get the accession process going and done with. And I think the expectations of the citizens have risen in that respect and have in some parts been disappointed over the last 3 years, to say the least.
Na pitanje gdje je Crna Gora u protekle 3 godine, ambasador kaže da je evidentan haos koji je negdje možda i opravdan obzirom da se dešavaju političke promjene. Očekivanja građana su malo drugačija u odnosu na ono što negdje imamo na sceni. Nije da ni ova vlada ništa nije uradila, oni jesu radili, ali ono što treba da bude u fokusu jesu reforme i prosto očekivanje građana moraju biti ispunjena. U svakom slučaju da se radi na reformama i to je negdje prioritet jer građani jesu, a evidentna je i ta konstantna podrška većine. How would you comment a meeting in Pokret Evropa Sad last night and the statement of Mr. Milojko Spajić that he would not say a lot or too much after the finishing meeting, but he said that everything will be okay?
Well, I would say that let me be frank, that I would not like to comment on this very recent event, which I also did not have time to scrutinize and discuss with other people. But I would say that if that signaled optimism, then that's what I also have. But as I say, a lot can happen within the next weeks. We will see which direction things are taking, and that will certainly also be important, especially with respect to what we expect Montenegro, or what the people of Montenegro expect to happen with respect to EU accession.
Na pitanje kako ambasador komentariše sinoćni sastanak i izjavu gospodina Spajića da je negdje sve kako treba i da sve ide u dobrom pravcu, rekao je da baš iskreno odgovorio da baš nije imao prilike da vidi, čuje ili možda prokomentariše sa nekim drugim i ne želi da komentariše posljednja dešavanja, ali ako je optimističan, to je dobro. Dobro je da imamo tako jedan konkretan pravac. Ponovio je još jednom da trebamo dozvoliti da vidimo šta će se dogoditi u naredne 3 nedelje i važno je da vidimo koji će to pravac biti zauzet. A ono što jeste najvažnije od svega toga da budemo na putu i pravcu ka pristupanju Evropskoj uniji i završavanju tog našeg članstva. I have to ask you to comment the platform of our Montenegrin president Jakov Milatović. Is that platform kind of a good way?
I think, and I repeat what I've also said in other interviews last week, that basically any initiative which directs the focus towards EU accession, which is an important platform and part of, I think, any future government, if one goes by what the parties in Montenegrin parliament say, then anything is to be saluted and hailed which endorses that and reinforces this focus. And I think in that way I would see the platform certainly positively. Some people say a platform also serves sort of partisan interests, and possibly any platform might try to basically influence concretely politics and narrow maybe the scope of politics of future governments. I would say I'm reticent to criticize any of these aspects because I think there is a tendency for polarization at the moment where anybody does politically. And naturally, one can say the president is elected, so he's free to have more initiatives than other political departments in Montenegro, is immediately attracting criticism, and there's a very polarized, confrontational way of dealing with things. I don't rule out that this platform serves many purposes, but I think the main issue is here, is the EU, is the focus staying on EU accession? Is it reinforcing the talk and the discussion and the eagerness for EU accession? And I think it can, and it does, in my view.
Na pitanje kako komentariše nedavno predstavljenu platformu od strane crnogorskog predsjednika gospodina Jakova Milatovića, ambasador kaže da u suštini svaka platforma je dobra i on podržava sve što može, naravno, da ubrza integracije na putu ka Evropskoj uniji. Pozitivna je, bilo je različitih mišljenja da ova platforma služi nekim konkretnim političkim partijama, da na neki način direktno od strane Jakova Milatovića je bilo i evidentno je da utiče na formiranje vlade, ali tu se može govoriti i o političkoj polarizaciji. Međutim, on ne bi da kritikuje, ne želi da kritikuje, ali sve dok se držimo puta ka Evropskoj uniji, onda smo na pravom putu i sve je dobro. Which date is quite optimistic that Montenegro can be a part of EU? Or it's very early to talk about the dates?
I think on the whole, I think the date of 2030 has been mentioned by the President of the European Council and has been mentioned in previous big EU meetings. I think it is too early to talk about definite date, but that a date is mentioned is not a surprise, as the negotiations have been taking more than 10 years already in the case of Montenegro. I think people are as eager as can be, 70 to 80% in this country, to join the EU. I think it's one of the highest rates in the Western Balkan countries, and they want this wish to be satisfied by politics, for politics to be a service which renders this goal realistic and prepares the country for it. So here is basically, I think, a very good offer to the people to use this geostrategic moment to recognize that accession is not just a bureaucratic process with technicalities and details to be performed, but it is also a geostrategic instrument of the EU. And in that sense, there's a window of opportunity now. There's the conflict, there's the aggression of Russia against Ukraine, which very much sorts countries in different camps. And the EU expectation is very strongly, and of our member states, for Montenegro to be choosing the right camp. And it does. It acts with great solidarity vis-à-vis Ukrainian citizens and refugees. It follows CFSP, the common foreign policy and security policy. So we are very satisfied about that. And I think also the neutral country, Austria, is not neutral in that respect. We are very clear, totally on the side of the Ukraine. And the offer is to have a staged accession process where benefits from membership in areas where Montenegro would be particularly fast and efficient in transposing EU acquis. There would already be a partial membership, if you want, in the domain of science and research or single market or other areas, and the participation in policy shaping and decision.
Na moje pitanje upućeno ambasadoru da li je rano govoriti o datumima kada će Crna Gora postati članica Evropske unije ili imamo neki određeni datum, on je kazao da je možda o datumima malo rano govoriti. Negdje se iz Brisela čulo da je to otprilike 2030. godina, ali obzirom da imamo situaciju na relaciji Rusija-Ukrajina i da su se samim tim stvorili neki novi određeni kampovi, onda je sada mnogo teže izabrati taj pravi kamp, ali Crna Gora je pokazala da jeste u pravom kampu, da je otvorila svoja vrata i prihvatila i izbjeglice iz Ukrajine i da je na mnogo načina pomogla, i austrijska vlada je naravno na strani Ukrajine, tako da u svakom slučaju ono što jeste važno, važno je da se prati želja i volja građana. Imamo statističke podatke da 80% građana Crne Gore podržava članstvo naše zemlje u Evropskoj uniji. U svakom slučaju mnogo posla nas čeka i mnogo toga je ispred nas što treba da uradimo, obzirom da smo već nekih desetak godina u procesu pregovaranja za članstvo u Evropskoj uniji. New government or elections?
Is this a question about prediction, or is it what I would wish for?
Your opinion, and then you can say what is your wish.
I think, personally, I think that new elections would be another detour for Montenegrin politics, which might even in some ways derail the concentration on EU accession process and also the front-runner situation of Montenegro. To be very honest, this would not be a good outcome of politics, to be very bland. I think there should be a formation of a government which has the remit and the power and the decisiveness to put into action reforms, to put in place especially merit-based people, experts who deal with the issues of accession and who have also the power and the responsibility to take decisions, to have the political will to move forward on decisive issues, which are very well discussed, and it's the rule of law issues, the interim benchmarks, chapter 23, 24, the judicial reform, and certain posts in the important bodies of judiciary.
Na pitanje nova vlada ili izbori, ambasador je prvo pitao da li želimo da čujemo njegove želje i njegovo mišljenje ili očekivanja ili da prokomentariše ono što zapravo jeste aktuelno. Kazao je da on misli da bi novi izbori potpuno poremetili koncentraciju kada govorimo o Crnoj Gori kao članici Evropske unije. Ne bi bilo dobro da imamo izbore zato što bi negdje još više to uticalo negativno na reformski proces u Crnoj Gori, na poglavlja 23 i 24 na što treba da budemo fokusirani. Ono što jeste neophodno Crnoj Gori to je formiranje vlade. Potrebne su nam nove reforme, potreban nam je evropski put, a za sve to je neophodna politička volja. We can make a conclusion. Only what is left for us to see what our politicians are going to do in these 3 weeks in ahead. And dear Excellency, it was very big pleasure to have you here with us this morning.
Thank you very much for
we
the
will be in
opportunity.
contact and see you again.
Thank you very much.